Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the 2018 Shrine Game and a player profile today on Marcus Martin, the defensive end out of Slippery Rock. Got a chance to interview him today, and the interview is going to be at the other half of the video. But first off, I want to get a general production profile on him based on analytics. So just to give you a little bit of idea of how productive he was as a player at Slippery Rock, and then give you just my general thoughts on him at the Shrine Game and then the interview at the very end. So first off, when it comes to defensive ends / 3-4 outside linebacker types or edge rushers, when it comes to production, there are three main metrics that I look at when it comes to that position. One is solo tackle market share, two is sack market share, and three is tackle for loss market share. And for those that aren't familiar with market share data, all market share data is you take an individual defensive statistic and you divide it by the team total statistic. So for example, if Marcus Martin had 20 sacks on a team that had 40 sacks, then Marcus Martin has 50% sack market share. But what you do with that number is you take that number and you compare it to every single defensive end / 3-4 outside linebacker performance since the 1989 NFL draft class, and then you have a way to compare one player to the other player, etc. And you also get to see where the thresholds exist. So where do all the all-pro players typically produce when it comes to solo tackle data, when it comes to sack data, and when it comes to tackle for loss data? And when you look at Marcus Martin's data right now, I mean, this is basically the chart showing you his solo tackle market share, sack market share, and tackle for loss market share. Martin has a 96.07 solo tackle market share score, a 99.41 sack market share score, and a 99.21 tackle for loss market share score. All these marks are very, very good. It is important to note, though, that this is not necessarily against FBS competition. So there is that factor to consider, is that oftentimes when you're talking about a guy that's from a lower level competition, even though they really produce like at a high level, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have extremely high quality outcomes at the NFL level. However, you don't want a guy at the lower level division not being productive either. So when it comes to Marcus Martin's case, he pretty much hits every single threshold that you want at the defensive end / 3-4 outside linebacker position. It's just that the strength of competition or strength of schedule is a little off to say that high quality outcomes may not be the most likely case when it comes to Marcus Martin, but he's definitely someone that could become a long-term starter, could become someone that can contribute for an NFL team. And all this production really indicates is that there's nothing red flag wise off the field. Because if this was a guy that didn't hit the minimum thresholds for an edge rusher and he played the lower level division, that would be a major red flag. I mean, that's what happens a lot of times when you have these small school guys, is you want them to produce at an extremely high level just to have the potential to become a starter, let alone a high quality player. Just a starter, you want them to be elite productive at that level of competition. And at least in Marcus Martin's case, he's elite productive. So when you get into all the information here, those are just my general thoughts when it comes to his production data. As far as his week of games at the Shrine, he's done very well. I'm also going to add a couple clips of him that I was able to record during the practice of him going through a couple reps here and there. But he's kind of similar to Joe Osman. Osman is the better of the two. I mean, I would definitely take Joe Osman over Marcus Martin in terms of edge rushers that are here, but very similar skill set, very similar build, very similar way that they win. And I think if you're a guy that really liked Joe Osman at this year's Shrine Game, and you don't necessarily want to pay as high of a price for Joe Osman, which depends whether that's day 2 or day 3, I think Marcus Martin is definitely a guy that you can get later on and kind of fill that role, whether you're talking about 3-4 outside linebacker role as an edge rusher or even a regular defensive end. So those are just the general thoughts on him at the Shrine Game. And now, of course, I'm going to have the interview later. But to end the video off, of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. Hit that notification button so that you're always reminded when a video of mine drops. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace. So what are you enjoying most about the Shrine game this week?
Definitely going to Shriners Hospital was probably the most inspirational part. We went there the first day, well, the second day we got here, arrived Saturday, went there Sunday. Honestly, wish we would have spent more time there. I mean, it's just a breathtaking experience. And pretty much the whole time there was just a smile on your face. Kind of takes your mind off the game of football, life in general, and just have a good time with these kids. They don't care what school you went to, how good you are, but they just want to make some friends, and it's a good time.
Right. Who are the toughest guys you faced this week?
I would say the offensive tackle from Miami was very good, and also the kid from Jones from Pitt, he's very good. He's around the same area as me, so he's very long, and you get two different types of play styles as tackle there, and they're definitely very good athletes. I mean, I give credit to all their linemen, that's why I had to think for a second. They're all so good, but those two definitely stood out the most to me.
In terms of your career, who are the toughest guys you faced, at lower level, even high school level?
Do you want linemen or just people in general?
Just people in general.
I would say one of the people that I always, when I ask this question, I always bring up Robert Foster. He played for Alabama this year, and I played against him and actually beat him right before we went to the Whitfield Championship, so it was a huge game, and he played amazing, pretty much almost won the game for his team. It was a double overtime type game. But besides him, Ethan Cooper from Indiana, University of Pennsylvania, he did very good last year. I believe he played in the NFLPA game, did good in that, looked good to Columbine last year. And he had the pro-style body type, and very good player, so I'd definitely mention him as well. And then last one would be a kid from Slip Rock, of course, Corey Tucker. He had a few shots in the NFL and was playing up in Canada in the CFL.
Right.
A little bit, so.
What is the funniest moment you've ever had as a football player?
Funniest moment?
Yeah.
That's a hard one. I would probably say, so when I came out of high school, I played in the Big 33 game, which is similar to this. We have buddies that we have with a disability, and we hang out with them for the whole week. And mine was the youngest kid, so he was pretty stubborn about the situation. He was real tired, and after a while, I realized what was wrong with him. He was hungry. So after we went and ate, he was like, let's go find ghosts. So I was like, what do you mean? He was just like, come on. And we walked through the high school that we were at when we ate lunch, and we walked through and just found ghosts in the rooms. I always look back and think it's so funny that I was 18 years old walking around looking for ghosts, but in the moment you don't even think of it like that.
Right. Which former or current players inspire you the most? I mean, it doesn't have to be at your position per se, but just, in general.
I would definitely say, Dwight Freeney, James Harrison, players like that, just undersized guys who are dealing with the same thing as me, just adapting to every situation they're put in, whether what team they're on, they always adjusted to the position. For example, James Harrison went to the Bengals, had to gain some weight, play a different position in a 3-front.
He went to a bunch of it.
And then with the Steelers, playing outside linebacker, adjusted to that. And, just players in the same situation always inspire me. I try to find like a new one all the time. Just their stories are always unique, and they push me to just keep going.
Gotcha. Which teammate or coach would you consider Bay? Like a guy that you would put above all others,
I would probably say Dominic Rosano, which is our defensive coordinator. I spend a lot of time with him. He's just one of those guys who, puts in so much time, and you have to admire it. His work ethic is far to none, and I just see the success coming off of him, and just rubs off so many people. And he's one of those guys who, when you look at it, he's a relationship guy. He's not all about coaching. He'd rather build a relationship and coach around that first. So I think that's why a lot of players relate to him the most.
So, maybe not the last question, but the warm-up question. If you could pick one play or game that you played in your career that sums up you as a football player, what game would that be, or what play?
I would say the Clarion University game. We played them at home. It was senior rec. I was about to break the sack record, and I was double covered. I had a tackle, and they they slid, and they slid opposite side. Running back picked me up as well, so I got through 2 blocks, made a sack, and broke the record.
And the last question, my site deals with a lot of analytics, production, stuff like that. You by far out of everybody here. Now, it wasn't lower level division, but you're by far the most like productive guy out of everybody here.
Yeah.
But there's always like new stats and stuff like that. Everybody's trying to come up with something new. If you were to sit down on like a committee or whatever and come up with a new statistic to like judge your position, what type of statistic would that be and why?
If I could I would try to find a statistic that you could find on work ethic. Something that you could judge work ethic. I think that's one thing a lot of players get looked over, because you look at what's written down on paper, and it doesn't so much mean that they're an amazing player. You know, if you play with good players on your team, you might not have the stats that you should have, but you work harder than all those guys. Maybe in the whole nation, you work harder than them. And I just wish there was a statistic that showed that.
Okay. Well,
Hey, Nikki.
Thanks.
Hey, appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you very much.